Hello, I'm Julie Williams, Registered Migration Agent with Migration Downunder, and I'm going to be talking to you today about general skilled independent migration, as it seems to be a hot topic of conversation at the moment, especially with the narrowing of employer sponsorship. Everyone's looking at other options and seeing whether or not they're eligible for independent migration. And some of our information and videos have created more questions, so hopefully this will help answer some of those questions, and if not, we've got plenty of information on our website at migratondownunder.com. But with general skilled migration, everyone's keen to know how long it's going to take to get an invitation, and then once they do get an invitation, how long it's going to take for the application to be processed. Well, it fluctuates and it varies depending on the time of year, depending on the occupation type, the number of occupations being released that particular month, the number of places being released for that month for that particular occupation category. Now, just in general terms with the expression of interest at the moment, whilst the pass mark is 60, it's certainly seeing a lot of fluctuation going up and down with the minimum score required in the invitation rounds. Invitation rounds are released every fortnight, and the more popular occupations are attracting a lot more higher quality applicants, pushing up the minimum score required. So whilst the minimum to apply is 60, to be confident in getting an invitation to apply for residency, you really need to start looking at 65 and above. Some occupations are demanding a minimum of 70, like some of the engineering professions and IT professions, whereas accountant has got as high as 80. Now that went back down to 70 and then back up again to 75. So it's all dependent on the number of applicants and the quality of applicants, because the more experience, the higher the English level, the younger the age, often attracts more points. So usually we're finding people with a lot more experience are able to obtain those higher marks. So it's experience that's important, more so than tertiary qualification. Although tertiary qualification is essential, it's the experience that are getting you the points. How long does it take once, with the expression of interest, it all depends on what your points are. The higher points that you obtain, the more likely it is that you'll get an invitation quite quickly. If you're sort of hovering around 65 and the occupation's fluctuating between 65, 70, 75, then it might be several months before you can expect an invitation. How can you try and obtain more points to bump you up to that next level? Often as easy as getting a higher English level, because people that are getting the proficient get 10 points, superior obtains 20 points. So there's a big jump there with 10 points. So that's a quick, I say easy, but it not necessarily is easy, even for people like myself, a native English speaker. I empathise with you having to do that English test, because it does take a lot of work, and often it's not necessarily the level of English you have, but how you approach the test. Because there is a lot of pressure to fit a lot in between that time, and I find that writing tends to let everybody down, including us English native speakers, because we don't tend to write longhand. We're so used to writing the texts and the short messages that we forget how to write the long letters, which is a requirement in the test. But look, once you do get an invitation, you've got 60 days to lodge an application, and then once it is lodged, then once again, we can't give you a guarantee of how long it's going to take. On the government website at the moment, the standard global processing for general skilled is 11 months. However, we don't find that it takes that long. There has been a spike in applications, and that often slows down the processing because the number of case officers doesn't increase whilst the number of applications do. We have had some recent applications come through within 2 months, 2, 3, 4 months, that seems to be the general time frame. But be aware, you have to have decision-ready applications. If you're missing things like like your police clearances, or you're missing, haven't done your medicals and you're requested to do so, then you'll go back in the queue and be reallocated at a later time. And that can certainly slow down the processing. So a good hint, have a decision-ready application when ready to lodge your application. Now, sometimes processing delays are beyond our control, beyond your control, because they're integrity checks. It might be integrity checking on your qualifications, your work experience, maybe it's character. And for that, the Department of Immigration have to outsource. So they usually, with work references, they have to get, if it's in another country, then they have to go to that particular embassy post to have the local staff go and do the investigation on the work experience to make certain that you did actually genuinely work in the area that you said that you worked for the length of time. So they will be doing reference checking. There might be other like character checking where they've got to go to third party just to make certain that you are who you say you are. It might be as simple as identity checks, character checks, and that can take several months. So that often delays the process as well. If you've got a health issue where you've got to go back and have further medical examinations, that too can also slow the processing. So that's why, as a general rule, they say 11 months, but if you've got decision ready with no real problems in the application, or I shouldn't say problems, that's probably not the right terminology, but if you don't have any, if you feel that it's a fairly clear-cut application and you've got all your supporting evidence, then you can expect quite a quick turnaround with the processing. The other question that seems to be coming up a lot is about state sponsorship. If you are already here in Australia, then state sponsorship can be a lot more difficult for you. People tend to gravitate towards Sydney and New South Wales because that's where all the jobs are, and in perhaps their particular area, or they all want to be in the largest population city. I don't know why. There's plenty of Australia to be shared around, and plenty of jobs out there in other areas who are trying to attract that skill set. But if you've been studying and working and living in New South Wales, don't expect to get a sponsorship nomination from another state, because they want to see commitment for you to live in their state. And so people that are going to get first invitation to the state sponsorship are those that are already living and working in that particular state, or perhaps they have close ties. They might already have families, they may have a job offer. Every state varies, and each state has their own list of occupations, and each state has their own list of criteria. It might be that you've got to have a job offer. It might be that if you have lived anywhere else other than that state in Australia, you won't be eligible. It might be that you need family. It might be that you need a higher level of English than the Department of Immigration are asking for. It might be that you need more work experience. Or it might mean that they'll only invite you if you have 70 points. So there's a lot of hidden criteria behind each of the states, and that's what you've got to be aware of. And the state list can change at any time. If you do get an invitation, then your invitation to apply for permanent residency by the department will be a lot quicker. So state sponsorship approval will trigger an invitation immediately for an application for a visa. With New South Wales and some of the popular occupations where a lot of people are sitting on 60 points and they want to get another 5 points from state sponsorship and their occupation is on the list, just remember that if you're in an area of demand or an area that is quite popular, such as engineering, IT, accountancy, then you may not necessarily get an invitation, or you may be waiting a very long time, because once again, just like the visa, you're competing with many other people in the same scenario that are trying to gain that extra 5 points. So you've really got to stand out to be invited. And let me tell you, if you are here in Australia, you've studied, you've obtained the qualification, unless you've got work experience in that particular field, you're not necessarily going to get an invitation, unless you've got really good points from age and English language. So work experience is the key to a successful invitation. So I hope I've helped answer some of those questions that have been coming through. Once again, if I haven't, there's plenty of information on our website at migratondownunder.com. Otherwise, don't hesitate in reaching out to us if you still have another inquiry, either on the phone 029 419 5411 or email info@migratondownunder.com.